Welcome to Red Kingdom Sports, and today we are going to discuss Thursday night football between the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints. Now, the Cowboys did end up winning this game 27-17. And before I get started, I would like to say that Troy Aikman should not be allowed to call Cowboys games anymore. It is just god-awful and terrible to listen to. His bias towards the Cowboys sometimes is unbearable and hard to listen to. It's so frustrating. Like, I understand he's a homer. He played his career in Dallas, won Super Bowls with them. Like, I understand his connection to Jerry Jones, the Cowboys organization. But geez, man, like, for some reason, his bias towards the Cowboys is unbearable at some point. It's different if you went on an opinion show and just talked about, oh, the Cowboys are my favorite team. I could care less when he does that. But when he's just doing it on a broadcast on national television and all he does is, to say how great the Cowboys are. Go Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? It can get very annoying really quick. And as a Chiefs fan, I might be a little bit petty because that game between the Cowboys and the Chiefs did feel like it was completely lopsided on the broadcasting. Now, Joe Buck, I think, is great. I did find him annoying at times. The World Series between the Royals and the Giants back in like 2014, that was really unbearable to hear at some points. But as I've gotten older, I've kind of enjoyed him a little bit more. But Troy Aikman, I understand like they're trying to be looser in the booth, but when they're being looser now, I just feel like they're just the bias towards the Cowboys that Troy Aikman has is just it's present and it needs to quit. Like, I don't understand. Like, I understand the Cowboys are one of the biggest brands. They're the biggest brand in the NFL. But geez, man, they've got to stop with all this bias crap towards the Cowboys. So either stop having Troy Aikman call so many of their games, or just tell him to stop being biased, because sometimes it's just hard to listen to. But let's get into the actual game. Now, this game, I thought it was fairly competitive in the first half. I really thought at times this game could have easily been tied going into halftime. But there was early on in the game, you had the big 1-2-3 punch by the Cowboys. You had the big play from Cooper Lamb, and then the great TD catch by Gallup, and that was what I was kind of expecting this entire game from the Cowboys, and that is not what we got. Now, I'll be honest. Like I said, the first half was competitive. The Saints, they were driving, but then they had that the curse interception was just amazing. That stalled out the Saints of them having any chance really to put points on the board. The Cowboys ended up getting a good drive, getting 3 points on the board. I think they had a 13-7 lead at halftime. I think it was something like along those lines. But I thought at the end of that, it was weird clock management because they had a 3 timeouts still, and they were just letting the clock tick down and down and down. It's like they were playing for a field goal instead of a touchdown. But then they got the defensive pass interference call. But at that point, I felt it was a little bit too late, and I'm just thinking, like, you could have called a timeout, you could have preserved the time, because even though they got the DPI, they had already wasted a whole bunch of time at the end of the first half. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm wrong by that, but I felt like they definitely could have had a lot more time on that clock. Because even if they get the DPI, get the good field position, they could have called timeout, preserved the clock, and still had 50 seconds to a minute, if not more, left. So I thought that clock management at the end was just a little bit weird. Like I said, the first half was fairly competitive. The Saints defense was amazing throughout this entire game. They really only gave up 20 points. And it felt like it was one of those games, for the Cowboys at least, where they didn't have to do much on offense because their defense was, balling out, playing very, very well. Now, it does help when you're the Cowboys defense that you have a guy that literally can't throw the football because his entire hand is messed up. It looked like when he threw the pass and it hit the defender's arm or somebody's arm, I was like, well, that looks like the same injury as Russ. And he was still in the game. I mean, props to him, but like you could tell after that injury that the Saints could do absolutely nothing at all. The entire offense, it felt like after the injury to Taysom Hill's hand, just felt like it was just him running the football right up the middle. Now in the second half, they were able to run the football fairly well with Taysom Hill. They just weren't able to come out with points because Taysom Hill had 4 interceptions in this game, which obviously is terrible. And then, they had the huge sack by Micah Parsons that took them out of field goal range. So, I mean, it is what it is for the Cowboys. Like, their defense was playing so well, they were playing a beat up, injured quarterback. So really, offensively, the Cowboys didn't have to do that much. But you would also expect them to do a lot more than what they did, because if you look at the Saints defensive wise, they're playing the Cowboys very well. They had like one good drive. It felt like the 1-2-3 punch was their best drive of the entire game, and other than that, they played them well. They shut down the Cowboys' run game, except for one run by Tony Pollard where he made a house call and he ran it really far. But I thought the Saints defense just completely shut down the Cowboys running game, which the Cowboys running game has been terrible the past 3-4 weeks. Which if they want to get back to what they want to be, they're going to have to run the ball with Zeke and Pollard more, which I'm going to say this now. I think Pollard is so much better than Zeke. He has more speed. He has more energy. And Zeke I think they said he was injured, but he looked so slow in this game. Like, he looked like he was a step and a half slower than everybody else in this game. So their run game was non-existent. I mean, and I think Tony Pollard should probably be the starting running back. Like, there's just something about Tony Pollard. He may not be the biggest, he may not be the strongest, but he brings energy, he brings speed. He's so electric, and I really like Tony Pollard. And I'm not even a Cowboys fan. I think they're annoying sometimes. But I thought that was a really great run that Pollard had. I feel like he's an energy bringer. Last week against the Raiders, his kickoff return for a touchdown. I know that wasn't a run play, but the energy that Tony Pollard brings is just different than what Zeke brings, because Zeke seems a little bit slow. But I was getting to the point where, like, the Cowboys didn't have to do much because their defense, you had Parsons, Diggs, DeMarcus Lawrence was back. He looked great. Cursed, like I mentioned, that amazing catch. But it just felt like, even though they didn't have to do much on offense, I just felt like they could have done a little bit more. I really do feel like it. Now, I'm not going to take throws away from Dak. Dak made some great throws. Like, I'm going to mention that 1-2-3 punch one more time. That was great. He was throwing it on a dime it was like a rope, just straight to CeeDee Lamb, like right up the middle. That was a great throw. Like, there was two throws. It was the Michael Gallup toe tap, and it was the zip to CeeDee Lamb. Like, I was just standing there in awe, and I'm like, that was a great throw. I thought that was an amazing throw, both of those by Dak, and I thought they were amazing catches by both of them. But I just felt like the Cowboys could have done more. Like I said, they're playing against the Saints defense, the Saints offense couldn't do anything because they had an injured quarterback. Their best running back was out. Their best player, receiver-wise, was Lil Jordan Humphrey. By the way, really fun name to say. But that was their best player. They could do nothing at all. And the Cowboys and the Saints defense, seeing that their offense can't do anything, is going to have to bail out the offense the entire game, which the Saints defense played great. But when you're seeing how the game is going, you would expect the Cowboys to put a lot more points up on the board. You have the Saints struggling offense. Their defense is the Saints defense, the one that has to do everything. So you would expect a little bit more from the Cowboys, because you had the Dak interception. They had 7 that they could have gotten at the end of the first half, but weird stuff happened. And so there was times where I just felt like the Cowboys definitely could have played a little bit better, got more points on the board. And they did not play their best game. Now, Dak, like I said, made some great throws. I definitely felt like he and the entire Cowboys offense could have played much better, because one of their best games of the entire season came in a loss in week 1. Like, that's what we expect from their offense. Like, it's like, okay, that's great. That's what we want to see. That's what we know you can be. And I know the Saints defense I think the Saints defense is a tad bit better than the Buccaneers. That was week 1. We're in week 13 now. But still, it just felt like the Cowboys offense, they have so many weapons. Like the Saints, you would think it doesn't matter how elite the defense is. Covering Zeke, covering Pollard, covering Lamb, covering Schultz, covering Gallup, and covering Cooper. You don't have enough defenders on the field to cover that unless you're rushing 2 and dropping 9 into coverage. So you have more than enough weapons. You have plenty of weapons. So you would think that they would put up a few more points on the board, no matter how good the defense is, because the Buccaneers have a very solid defense, and they scored 30 something odd points in the first game of the season. So you know the Cowboys can put up points against any defense. It's just that I felt like there was definitely times where they could have put up a lot more points than what they did. But yeah, if you look at the Cowboys defense, 4 interceptions. Taysom Hill did not look good. That hand injury obviously hindered him quite a bit in this game. Did not look good. They even had a big man pick 6. And at that point in the game, I was really just sitting there like, why is this game still on? Why is this game still happening? I was watching it recorded. And usually whenever a game gets out of hand late in the game, and I'm watching it recorded after I get home from doing things, I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to turn it off, make a recap. But there was just so many, like, they let the Saints, that's the thing. It wasn't the players. They let the Saints stay in this game way longer than they should have. Like, some people may not think that. I just felt like they let the Saints stay in this game way too long at the end of that game. The terrible coaching decision, they gained 5, and I think there was around 5-6 minutes left in the game. They gained 5 yards on first down. 5 yards for a struggling running team, for a struggling run game that the Cowboys had in this game, it's great news to see. So you get 5 yards. You'd think they'd run it again and let the clock continue to run down. No, 2 straight incompletions, they have to punt. And I was just like, what are they doing? Because they kept giving the Saints life. The Saints kept turning the ball over. But the end of the game just was really, really dumb, in my opinion. It felt like it lasted way too long. It felt like it could have ended easily 20 or 30 minutes before it actually took place. Because then it was garbage time, but it also felt like, well, the Saints have life, so what's going on? You had the TD run by Pollard with less than 5 minutes or so left. There was the TD run or pass by the Saints, that was really long touchdown. Like, it was still a 10-point game, but just the way the Cowboys just like, it looked like they refused to close out the game. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? This is really weird. Really, really weird. And the synopsis, how I felt at the end of the game, I just thought it was stupid. I thought it was really dumb, and I just thought the Cowboys should have just ran the clock out and ended it. But it is what it is. But yeah, you look at I'm a fairly positive person. I like to, especially with guys that I like the Saints. I like Taysom Hill. Like, the first time I saw him, I was like, this dude could do everything. After his injury, the only thing they could do was run the ball with him. He had 4 interceptions. And you kind of have to admit that even though his hand was injured, some of those throws were ill-advised, shouldn't have made those. Yeah, he's just not a starting quarterback. That was a lot of money for the Saints to pay a guy that's just a really good gadget player. So the Saints are probably going to be in the market for a quarterback unless they think Jameis Winston next year, when he comes back healthy, is their starter. And then obviously on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys, you had Diggs. He had his 9th interception this season. This is the first time that Sean Payton of the Saints has lost 5 in a row. And as I mentioned, the end of that game was absolutely stupid. So that was my recap of Thursday Night Football between the Cowboys and the Saints. Cowboys won 27-17. Give me your thoughts down below of what you thought of Thursday Night Football, and I will see you in the next one.